kind of get you
All right.
started. Happy to have Coach Russell, special teams coordinator and linebacker coach out at Norwich University. Coach is a Maine guy, Kennebunk grad. He's been on with us a couple of times, and always appreciate hearing him talk, and certainly appreciate you taking the time, Coach, and doing this with us. So, floor is yours. If guys have questions, you can just turn on your mic and ask them directly. You can throw them in the chat and save them for the end. Really, whatever you want to do, I think is fine. And Coach is going to talk some linebacker techniques and fundamentals today. So, looking forward to it, Coach. It's all yours, man.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Thanks for having me as usual. Can you guys see that screen all right? I got a PowerPoint up?
Yeah, we got you, Coach.
Okay, good. All right. So we're going to talk today a little bit about the 3-4 inside linebacker play. See what happens if I do that. Does that work? Good. All right. I think first thing when we talk about this is why the 3-4, okay? Before we even get into the nitty-gritty, what makes it appealing to us, what we like about it, okay, and just kind of give an overview of that. The first thing I think that the 3-4 offers is a lot of versatility in terms of pressure, all right? Here at Norwich, we are over 95% of our snaps. We're bringing at least one of our linebackers, and what we like about it is it allows us to get to a 4-man front, but pre-snap, you don't know where that fourth player is coming from, right? So when you're looking at a Norwich defense, it's very hard to find a snap where we're not blitzing somebody out of our base stuff, okay? So we like that. We can bring 4, we can bring 5, we can bring 6, or we can bring 7. And, it puts the onus on the offense to figure out where that pressure is coming from, allows us to get favorable matchups, and allows us to kind of manipulate protections, by alignment and where we're coming from. We can kind of dictate what we're going to get. All right. The other piece of it is the versatility from a coverage standpoint. We start when we're in our 3-4, which is our base, we start in a 2-high shell. We may stay in a 2-high shell, or we may get to a 1-high shell one way or another, whether we're rolling, screwing down a safety, so on and so forth. Available body types, okay? A big part of this change for us too was when you look at who you're recruiting, okay, we felt like a large percentage of high school seniors, out there that are looking at Division II, Division III schools, are somewhere between 5'10" and 6'2", and somewhere between, 185 pounds, 225 pounds. A lot of kids fall into that category and that body type. And when you look at what are those kids tend to be linebacker types. So what are we going to do personnel-wise to make sure that what we have on our roster suits what we're trying to do? So that was another reason we went to the 3-4. You can get more of those linebacker-type bodies, on the field. And then the variability with the fronts and shells. We could put our base personnel out on the field, and we can go from a 3-4 to a 4-3 to a 4-4 without substituting, just by keeping the same people on the field. You're putting a guy in the front, whatever it may be, inserting a safety to get to a 4-4, doing different types of things like that. So all those things are what really makes it, attractive to us. We've had a lot of success with it, and why we run that for our defense. All right, so that's a little about why we like 3-4. Getting specifics in the linebackers and the inside backers. Okay, one of the things that when I started coaching, I was coaching in a 4-4 initially, and really, with the exception of one of those guys, you could kind of coach all the linebackers together. It was a very similar type position. We found once we got into a 3-4, we're really asking kids to do different things. So, the inside linebacker position and the outside linebacker position are almost two different type of positions. And when you get to the outside backers, a lot of times it's even more that way. You're dealing with, a Sam who tends to play on the tight side, and he's got to be a stand-up guy and take on tight ends. And then, your Will is more of almost like a strong safety type. But they're being asked to do things very differently from what our inside kids are doing. All right. So everything I'm talking about here is specific to our inside linebackers. Okay. Our base alignment to these kids is a 40-eye. It's the inside shade of the offensive tackle. We used to go 30-30, putting them on the guard. We widened them out a little bit. Felt like with spread offenses, it's a lot easier to fall back inside sometimes than it is to get out over the top and get out of stuff. So we widened them out a little bit to a 40-eye. I put their toes at 5. Okay, a couple years ago, I changed this. We used to put heels at 5, like I'm sure a lot of people do. What I found was, especially early in the season, especially with younger players, when they had their heels at 5, they were so eager, right? They were getting up, they were getting caught up in the wash too much, and I didn't like it. Losing their scrape angles, they took a step forward now, and they were sometimes, pretty easy to cut off. So we backed them up. We put their toes at 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. It just gave us a little bit more room for them to read and then be able to flow and scrape and all that stuff. So that's where I put them now. It's always easier to get them to move up, if you need them to. So, and then we're a balanced stance team. I'm sure a lot of people are. But, I want their toes even, and not getting too deep into the alignment stance and stuff. But, we're a balanced stance team and get our feet balanced up. I've toyed with the idea of putting a stagger in there and kind of substituting read steps. I don't really use that term with them, but for a one step to come to balance as your read step, something I picked up somewhere. I flirted with it. I haven't had the courage yet to go ahead and pull the trigger on it, but that's where we're at with that. All right, so here's a picture of it. Okay, now this camera is not. You can see the ball's on the hash here. Our end zone camera is right in the middle of the goalpost. So, from this angle, it looks like he's a little bit inside. I'd like to think chances are he's a senior. So hopefully he is he is out where he should be in that 40-eye inside shade of the tackle on his shoulder. But this is our base alignment here. We've got a zero nose. We've got looks like we're actually in what we call our Oki, where our ends are in 5 techniques rather than head up. But not much changes in terms of the linebacking core. So the zero nose, 40-eye here and a 40-eye here, just for you to visually see where we align those kids. And that's, again, if the camera was directly behind the defense, hopefully you'd see that they are a little bit wider than it initially looks. You can tell here, another senior, he's right where he should be. He is right on the inside shoulder of that tackle, and he's in pretty good position. I was really fortunate this year. I had 5 senior inside linebackers, so a lot of experience, a lot of guys had taken a lot of reps and they played, so it was a good deal for us. All right, the keys for them, what they're looking at. Okay, we tell them to read the triangle, and we got a picture coming up in a minute. So they're reading from the guards to the near back. Okay, so I'm gonna click ahead, show you what that looks like. Okay, so they're reading this triangle here, the 2 guards, okay, to the near back. Obviously, if this guy on this side, his eyes are going to be on this guard here, vice versa, okay, and the near back. Now, when it's a one-back offense, okay, and a lot of people are nowadays, all right, we're kind of counting this quarterback as one of the backs, right? So he's going to kind of read this quarterback too. And what I mean by that is quarterback takes a snap, opens this way, his back's too. All right, now he should be expecting, this type of action to him, okay, as he reads, and then vice versa. So he's reading to this back here, okay, but go back to my slide, okay. I use the term low beams, okay. I tell them to read the triangle with the bottoms of their eyes, okay. So as we go ahead here, so they're reading this triangle. They should be reading this offensive line part of the triangle with their low beams, the bottoms of their eyes, reading that flow from the backfield, okay? It's almost like a peripheral vision, right? So if I'm reading this back here, okay, I can see what my key, this initial key is doing with my eyes, where his hat's going. Is it his own step? Is he down? Is he pulling? Okay, and then I can read the flow too. So you got to be able to see the whole picture, right? You got to be able to step back and read the whole picture, okay? One thing will lie to you. It's got to be how are they working in concert with each other, all right? So their reads, first thing they got to be able to do is they got to be able to recognize blocks, right? So more or less, okay, you're only going to get a certain amount of different types of blocks, okay? You're going to get a drive block. Now, when you're a linebacker, right, as opposed to a down lineman, I define drive block for those kids as that guard and or center is coming out to you right now. All right. He's not doubling with anybody. He's not zoning. He's coming to block you right now. For linebackers, I define that as a drive. All right. A reach. You're going to get a reach when you're looking at zone. Okay. I'm sure everybody's pretty familiar with that term. Okay. A down block. All right. A pull or a pass set. Okay. Now, where it becomes interesting is, okay, sometimes that down block and a reach block away from you will look pretty similar, right? So we drill the heck out of recognizing these types of blocks. Okay. Pull, you see I put communicate there in parentheses. All right. If you get on your side, you're getting pull away. Okay. It's your responsibility to tell your partner, the other inside linebacker, you make a pull call. All right. We tell those kids all the time, pull, 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 pull. Okay. You got to talk. You got to let that guy know what's coming. All right. And then obviously a pass set. We drill this every single day. All right. Every day that I have the linebackers for an Indy period, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, doesn't matter. We're doing this every single day. I think it's the most fundamental part of being able to play is you've got to recognize what kind of blocks you're getting. So you see at the bottom there, I said, do it every day. We drill it every single day. All right. Now the trigger, how do they react to those blocks? Okay. That drive block I talked about, you're getting somebody coming out to block you immediately right on you. We're going to attack that. We tell them splat the drive block. That means get downhill right now. Go meet it as deep as you can. Double armpit it. Get extension so you can separate, but go attack that block. I don't overcoach how they're taking it on, right? Now, we could talk about, are you getting on the inside pad? Are you getting on the outside pad? You know, so on and so forth. Are you throwing a flipper in there? All that. I have preferences, but ultimately, if it's coming downhill at you right now, you're expecting something that's pretty quick hitting. So go get it. Okay, go get it. All right. You get a reach either to you or away. The first thing they should be thinking is scrape. Okay, one way or the other. All right. The term I use with them is when we get that flow, that's reach block, step to stack. We tell them step to stack. We're going to get ourselves kind of stacked on a defensive lineman so that we can buy ourselves a second. So if I'm playing on the right side and I'm getting a reach block to the left, all right, I'm going to shuffle over and step to stack, you know, on the nose guard. It doesn't have to be directly behind him, but you're able to buy yourselves time for anybody to get up on you. Okay. You get a down block now, you're probably getting gap game, right? You're not getting zone steps in gap game. So you get a down block, you should be getting ready to fill right now. Okay. And when this works together with the pull, right? So you get a down and a pull call from your buddy, you know, you're thinking power or something coming your way. All right. You should be ready to fill right now. Okay. Ready to fill it. And we always tell them fill the first crack first, right? We always want the ball to go wider. Okay. So you're going to fill the inside gap first, whatever that may be. So that puller comes around, you get a down block from the guard, you get a pull coming your way. We're going to try to attack the inside shoulder pad of the puller for to the play side. And the backside guy is going to be the scrape, getting over the top, taking call it a banana path, being able to pick the pocket of the opposite inside linebacker as he gets over the top to fill the next tightest gap. Okay, we're always going to protect inside first. So again, you get a pull call to you, your guard pulls, you make a pull call, you let your buddy know, okay, and you're getting ready to scrape, going with it, all right? And then you hear a pull call, so it pulls away from you. Again, you're getting ready to fill because you're probably getting some sort of down block too. So you get kind of a dual trigger there. All right. We want these kids to be aggressive and fill stuff right now. Okay. And then pass set, you're going to open, you know, the way that you're supposed to open, depending on formation, whether it's balanced or trips or whatever. You're going to open your hips and you're going to look up receiver. We are not a spot drop team. We essentially play a matchup zone. So you're going to look up the receiver. Then all our drops have definitions. You know, I'm not going to spend time on that right now, but so we have definitions for our drops, and you know, you're looking up that receiver, whether it's number 2, number 3, whatever it may be, and finding him. You know, you got to turn your eyes as you open your hips. You got to use your eyes too. We don't cover grass, and receivers move on you. Unfortunately, it's cheating, but neither here nor there. All right, so that's how. Again, I have a drill for this. I spent about 4 days going through practice film, trying to find a good look at it, and I couldn't find one. we do it every day. Again, partially my fault. You know, we're a Division III program, so we don't have an abundance of film. So a lot of times when they're like, "Hey, do you want your indie film?" I'm like, "No, I'll use it for something else today." And as a result, I didn't have a good look. I had a couple clips of it, but not good. So just to kind of talk you through how I drill it real quick. Line those kids up. You know, I take an inside linebacker, one kid out, face it in. He's 5 yards from a single file line of guys. I like to stand directly behind the inside linebacker for two reasons. One is I see what he sees, so I could see what his reaction time. Two, I literally stand directly behind him so that we eliminate false steps, or try to eliminate false steps. You know, if they're stepping backwards, they're going to step on my toes. Hopefully they like me enough that they don't do that on purpose. Some years are better than others with that, but so I stand right behind them, take away the false steps, and then see what they're seeing with their eyes. I'm seeing the same thing, see how quickly they're reading and reacting to that. And then the single file line facing, the first guy up is the blocker. I don't tell them what to do. They know that they can either drive, they can reach one way or the other, okay? They can down, or they can pull, or they can pass set. We work on it early in the season so they know it's up to them. So I don't know what's coming. The linebacker doesn't know what's coming, and his job is just to react. So he gets that drive block. He's getting downhill right now, attacking the block. He gets a reach one way or the other. He's taking his read and then shuffling, getting ready to, whether it's scrape over the top and dip and rip over a block, or if he can just rip and run and beat it with speed, that works too. And then a down block, you know, he's getting ready to fill, and then the pull, he makes the pull call. If it pulls away, he shuffles, okay, and if it pulls two, he fills. All right, so we drill it every single day. Again, 5 yards apart, and just as much as possible, try to get those kids to recognize blocks, whether you're a linebacker or a defensive lineman. If you can recognize what kind of block you're getting, you got an advantage. Okay, so the fits and the rules. Okay, our first rule is this: make the defensive line right. Okay, thug is what we call our head up alignment for our defensive linemen. Anytime they're lined up head up on an offensive lineman, we call it thug. Okay, now again, this is base stuff. This is not if we're moving, if we're scooping, anything like that. If you're lined up base, you're not moving, okay, we don't worry about the reach, right? You're always saying, like, don't get reached, don't get reached, don't get reached. Those head-up kids, we say, don't worry about the reach. You know, you're going to play yourself into a gap, okay? So let's say I'm a defensive end, I'm head up on a tackle, okay? I get a reach outside of me. I play off the back hip of it, so now I'm playing in the B gap, okay? It just clears up the picture for those linebackers. They know where to fit. Ultimately, we're fitting off the guy in front of us. So we're telling the linebackers, make the D-line right. And then as we, move back, we're telling the secondary to make the linebackers right? We want kids to be aggressive. Don't want them thinking we want to play in. Okay, so make the defensive line right. We're not worried about the reach. They're playing off of that. Okay, inside flow, keep it real simple. Okay, inside flow, we're going to fit. Okay, we're going to fit based on what's happening in front of us, where the gaps are, and we'll get to a picture and talk through this in a minute. Okay, outside flow, we want to scrape. All right, flow away, our rule, flow away, unprotected A. Okay, wise man once told me, when you're building a defense, always protect your A gaps first, right? You don't want that ball to get vertical on you right now. So you always have to make sure your A gaps are protected first and work out from there. So you see, always protect inside out. Okay, so flow away, unprotected A. All right, that nose guard is going to be playing in one of those A gaps. Whichever one he's not in, that's the one you're responsible for on flow away. Okay, simple rules. Two back, okay, which is kind of starting to come back a little bit now. Everybody went away from it, and then it's starting to have a resurgence. Okay, football always goes in cycles, right? Full flow equals go. Okay, so both backs go one way or the other. Get on your horse. Okay, split flow. In the interest of rhyming, I always used to say full flow equals go. Split flow equals slow. I've tried to eliminate the word slow from my vocabulary, right? So we now say full flow equals go. Split flow equals patient. Again, split flow obviously is one back goes one way, the other back goes the other. Okay, so if we click ahead here to talk through all the things I just talked about. So we talk about flow to, flow away, all right, from a still photo here as we're aligned right now. Okay, this inside linebacker's here. He's got, on the left, he's got a defensive end is in a 5 technique. Okay, so pre-snap, okay, if he gets flow to him right now, inside flow to him, okay, he's thinking B or A depending on the nose guard, okay? If this nose guard plays himself to the play side A gap, this inside linebacker's thinking on inside flow, I got to fit B, okay? If this nose guard plays himself to the opposite, the backside A gap on flow 2, all right, he's got to worry, the linebacker's got to worry about A gap first, okay? Now, his buddy on the backside is reading it as well, so he gets flow away. He's thinking scrape, okay? So if this play side inside linebacker fills downhill into the A, okay, on flow to his side, the side of the back now, okay, he fills to the A. I want the backside inside linebacker should be scraping over the top thinking he's fitting B, okay? I'm telling these defensive linemen all the time, okay? Once you play yourself into a gap, okay, don't shrug back across or anything until the ball's committed because it really muddies things up, all right? You're lined up outside shade of the tackle right now, okay? You get flow there. That would be the C gap. You're playing in the C gap for now, okay? Take that gap away. Own your gap. Let this linebacker know where he's got to fit. Ball commits up inside, you can shrug back across or rip across the face, fine. But when you're doing it in the midst of a play now, we're getting 2 guys in the B gap, nobody's in the C, we're in trouble, okay? If you're on the back side of this now, okay, he's reading, he gets flow away. His first thought, again, like I told you, is unprotected A, all right? So this nose guard, okay, he plays, let's say flow goes to the offensive left here. It's inside flow, downhill flow. If the nose guard plays himself to the play side A, first thing this backside inside linebacker's thinking is unprotected A, which would be the quote-unquote backside A, right? If the nose guard plays himself to the backside A on flow to the offensive left, now he's got to get over the top of that and then fit based on where the inside linebacker's fitting, okay? So if the play side inside linebacker fits B gap, okay, now the backside inside linebacker's got to fit into the opposite A, all right? It's all based on where they're fitting. Now, we drill that a lot too, okay, in terms of just fitting where there is nobody, okay? Drill that I use for that, all right, is set up 5 bags, just put them down on the ground. They're the offensive line. Okay, we'll put 3 guys out there just standing there. They're usually linebackers. I don't do this with the D-line. We'll do that later on, but just to do it in Indy. And we'll put a kid head up on the center, 2 kids heads up on the tackle, all right? Again, I don't tell them where to go, and I'll just say hit. And those 3 kids will be the 3 down linemen, and they'll step into a gap, okay, whether it's the B gap, the C gap, one of the A gaps for the nose. And as we say hit, and they step, those linebackers, I tell them get downhill right now, so they're just fitting off of where the guys in front of them are, okay? It's just something we do. It's quick. You can get a bunch of reps at it in a very short period of time and just get those kids fitting off their teammates so we're not getting 2 guys in a gap, okay? So that's kind of the inside flow deal. All right, outside flow, okay, outside flow, we're scraping, okay? So if we're on the offensive left here, okay, any type of outside flow, all right, I'm actually going to flip it for you. If we go to the offensive right, say it's an outside zone play going away, outside flow, this inside linebacker's thinking about getting over the top, okay? He's reading this guard first, okay? You're going to get zone steps on an outside run play. Odds are, okay, you might get a pull if it's pin pull, whatever it may be, okay? But he's thinking about scraping over the top. Again, okay, this defensive end is going to kind of predicate his fit based on where the ball's going, all right? Running back shoulders will tell you, okay? If he's turned and his shoulders are square, he's facing the sideline, okay, it's an outside run play, right? So this guy can see that. He should be thinking about getting over the top. Again, the backside inside linebacker's first thought is flow away, okay, is unprotected A. So if this is an outside run play, outside zone, if the back was over here, it could be tossed, whatever it may be, any kind of outside run play, all right, his first thing is check off unprotected A, even if he knows he's getting outside flow. Now, that doesn't mean run up there and fit it. That means make sure it's checked off, okay, because you're responsible for the cutback. Okay, check off unprotected A and then work the flow, all right? So flow away equals scrape, okay? In our defense, all right, we always have what we call front shoulder rushers and back shoulder rushers. Now, we're talking about the quarterback on pass, okay? But based on the defensive call, every player in our front should know if they're involved, if they're blitzing or whatever, am I front shoulder or back shoulder? Okay, and when we install, we walk through stuff, I'll say, all right, freeze. back shoulder, raise your hands. We'll always have 2 back shoulder rushers. Back shoulder rushers mean contain, okay? So it applies to the run game as well. So we're always going to have back shoulder rushers on each side, and then we have inside, front shoulder rushers as well, okay? In the pass game, front shoulder means you're going to the quarterback's front shoulder, trying to flush him to a back shoulder rusher. Back shoulder rushers mean you're rushing the quarterback's back shoulder, trying to get him to step up into a front shoulder rusher, right? Now, as it goes into the run game, okay, basically the back shoulder rushers are the contained players, okay? So their job is to hard shell it and the ball doesn't get outside of them, okay? So in this particular clip, which we're going to see video of later, this outside linebacker walked up here, number 8. All right, he is coming on a blitz, okay, because, again, it's tough to find a snap for us where we're not blitzing somebody. So he's coming on a blitz, so he's now a back shoulder rusher over here. So what that means is his defensive end is a front shoulder rusher, so he's freed up to chase. If the ball goes away, he doesn't have to worry about reverse, none of that stuff. And if it's pass, bootleg, any of that, he's not worried about that. So he can chase, he can bend and chase because he's a front shoulder rusher. Same for the nose guard. Okay. It also applies in the zone read type stuff. Okay. If you're a front shoulder rusher, all right, you are a dive player. Dive means the running back. Okay. If you're a back shoulder rusher, you're a quarterback player in zone read stuff, the basic zone read stuff. Okay. So if this tailback was to go on inside flow path, inside zone path, quarterback pulls it, tries to get outside, the back shoulder rusher is responsible for him. So he can't bend and chase on any dive stuff or any flow away. He's got to always take this kind of back shoulder path to the ball, right? Making sure it's not coming back, reverse, bootleg, anything like that. Okay, so he's not free to bend and chase. But all these other guys that are front shoulder rushers, if outside flow goes away, they can chase flat down the line, so on and so forth. Okay, going back to make sure. All right, so full flow equals go. We got there, flow away, unprotected A. Okay. So we always say flow, opposite pull, right? You're going to get counter, some sort of misdirection, okay? You're getting bootleg play action pass, or you're getting quarterback run game, right? So what does that mean? Pretty simply, that means, the back goes one way and you get pull the other, right? You got to smell a rat, okay? It's one of these type of things that's going on. So obviously you get counter, you could get flow to fill for the pullers, or the tailbacks taking counter steps, all right? Play action pass, again, bootleg, right? A lot of teams like to pull on boot. Okay, or you get quarterback run game, whether it's QB counter, QB power, could be any one of those type of things. Okay, so those are general rules for those kids. If you get flow, opposite pull, and that's where being able to read the entire picture, comes into play of reading with the bottom of your eyes now. I've got pull going one way, okay, and then I get the back going the opposite way. All right, something's up. I'm getting counter, I'm getting play action pass, or I'm getting quarterback run game. Okay, so those are general rules for those kids to follow. All right, we get into a video clip here. Okay, this is actually the clip. I've got a few clips on here, but this is the clip of the still photo that we were just looking at. Okay, we'll kind of talk through it here. Hopefully this is playing all right for you guys. Okay. So when the ball's snapped, okay, I'm going to get a pause here, take it back just a skosh. All right. This ball snapped. Okay. Pretty clear zone steps from the offensive lineman. All right. They're getting a reach type block. Okay. This inside linebacker is getting reach away. He's doing a pretty good job here. He hasn't come rushing forward. He should be working laterally now. Okay. He's getting from the back. He's getting an inside flow type of read. His back shoulders are downhill. Okay. So he's working over the top a little bit, starting to scrape, not flying out of there. Okay, because his rule again, flow, inside flow is fill, flow away, unprotected A. So as we look at what he's getting, okay, as it goes, all right, he's doing a pretty darn good job. This nose guard is playing himself to the front side A gap. So this backside number 55 here, this backside inside linebacker, his rule is unprotected A, okay? He's doing a good job. Now, we're bringing edge pressure here, okay? So that tells our defensive end he should be working under, which he is, okay? He's going to play himself into the B gap because of that blitz, all right? Okay, whoops, sorry. So this defensive end should be working under on the blitz. Okay, we get edge pressure. The edge pressure is the back shoulder rusher is responsible for any quarterback pull or, bootleg or anything like that. Okay. Nose guard's working himself again, like I said, to the play side A. I got to move my box here so I can see. Okay, so he's playing to the play side A. This backside inside linebacker is doing a pretty good job. His pad level's not great, but he's pretty good in terms of working himself over the top. Okay, and this front side kid now, he's got reach, okay, but he's getting an inside flow path. So this defensive end lined up in a 5, so he should be owning this gap here. Okay, so this guy should be thinking about the ball fitting up into the B gap. Okay, the A gap secured by the nose guard. All right. So here we go. Plays into the A. Okay, should be attacking this block here. This end is coming under. Okay, he's actually going to end up making the play here. But this inside linebacker here is working over the top. And there we go. I think that's a 2-yard gain, so we'll take it. Okay. Yeah, and so look at the front side a little bit now here. Okay. As we freeze there. Okay. So his eyes, he's reading here to the near back. The near back for him is the quarterback. Okay. He's getting reach his way. So he's thinking he's play side right away. Okay. So his eyes go to this. He's getting the reach. Okay. So he should be pretty patient, not go flying out of there because he has a 5 taking in front of him. Now, if this player had been head up at the beginning of the play, okay, then it changes things a little bit for him because now if this DN plays himself into the B gap, he's thinking about getting over the top of it on outside flow. Okay, but the running back again is got his shoulders downhill. Okay, he's thinking inside zone. Right now we do have an overhang player out here. What you guys couldn't see from the angle is this is a 2-by-1 formation. 2-by-2. So we got a slot receiver out here. So we have another overhang player sitting out here. Okay, who can play anything that bounces. Okay, nose guards there. Good. Now, you can see this backside player is doing a pretty good job of checking off the bootleg and anything before he gets into pursuit. Okay, and this play side inside linebacker should now stick his foot in the ground. Okay, get separation. He kind of gets whacked a little bit there. All right, but the DN is able to make the play. The backside inside linebacker is right there. Okay, pretty good job there. All right. Going in now. Okay. Again, I think in this clip we're bringing edge pressure again because we bring pressure, and I didn't want to show you any clips where we brought inside linebacker pressure. Okay, something that, again, is kind of nice about a 3-4, okay, and when you have experienced guys, all right, we're in a base front here, okay, but pre-snap, okay, we're going to play around. This guy's going to he's going to line up initially in a 3 technique. This is a senior defensive end, okay, senior inside linebacker, senior defensive end, senior nose guard, senior outside linebacker. So some experienced guys here, and once they're experienced like that, we like to give them a lot of freedom to play around pre-snap. You know, they know their responsibilities, so we let them – that wasn't supposed to happen. Sorry. We let them play around with their pre-snap alignment, you know, mess with, get up in there, show things, move. So he gets out. When the ball's snapped, he's where he needs to be, but allows him to walk up and play around, okay, before the snap. This is a good clip to look at, okay? We get this, what we call jet motion. You might call it fly motion, whatever you call it. But from the right side of the screen here, you get this receiver coming across the formation, all right? Something we got to impose on our guys all the time is if somebody goes in motion on the offensive team, right, and nobody moves on defense, we're in trouble, okay? What they're doing, all right, is taking their pre-snap formation, okay, and when you get motion, once that crosses the center especially now, the formation has changed, okay? The formation has changed. So if you get motion and nobody moves, that's bad, right? So I think we do a pretty good job here of we get motion across, okay? You guys pointing it out, talking, safety's adjusting. Okay, the ball's snapped before it crosses the center, but you can see this kid on the left side of the screen, this inside linebacker, he's getting ready, okay, to move. his near back now is this offset, whatever it is, fullback, H-back, it doesn't matter. That's now his near back, okay? So he sees he's moving with motion. He hears it from the backside of the formation. He's getting that. You can see he goes with, scraping outside, okay? Frankly, and this kid was one of our best players, but he's a little bit slow here, okay? He's getting motion, and then at the snap, he clearly gets a hat going this way to his left, okay? He should be a little quicker getting into his scrape a little bit. But, again, now this time we're getting edge pressure on the front side of this. Because this player over here, this outside linebacker 45, we got our camouflage jerseys on, so the numbers aren't quite as clear as they normally would be, okay? But because he's the edge pressure, he's now the back shoulder rusher. He's the edge of the defense. So he's got to take a path on his blitz, okay, that allows him to hard shell and not let it get outside of him. So he's going to go up the field, frankly, a little bit too much. Should be a little bit more on a 45, kind of attacking it, keeping his outside arm and leg free, attacking this block. All right, but still, he's the shell of defense. So this player knows, this inside linebacker knows, I've got a guy outside of me. He's the edge of the defense. He should be hard shelling it, not letting it get outside of him. So I'm thinking about fitting inside of that, okay? The defensive end gets a down block. He's taught to squeeze it down. So this inside linebacker, okay, can scrape over top because he's saying these gaps are going to be taken care of by both the nose guard and the squeezing defensive end. I picked this play because we end up getting quarterback run game out of it, okay? So this inside linebacker on the right side now, okay, he's not involved in the blitz, but he is essentially, okay, a front shoulder rusher. Now, I told you in the zone read stuff, okay, those front shoulder rushers are responsible for the dive. The back shoulder rushers are responsible for the quarterback, right? But when you get power read, okay, or any type of inside quarterback run, right, now the quarterback position is the dive, okay? And jet guy would be the quarterback if we were talking about, you know, traditional zone read. Sometimes a tough concept to get across to the guys of they're saying quarterback dive. But when the quarterback, you know, fakes this jet sweep, sorry, darn it. All right. When the quarterback fakes this jet sweep and then takes the ball up inside, he's now the dive player, right? So you get a pull, he gets a pull. He should be saying pull, pull, pull. The linebacker on the right side should be given a pull call as that guy tries to pull around tight, okay? Because the defensive end did such a good job squeezing the down block, he's actually underneath the puller here, okay? The puller, sometimes when those kids do a good job squeezing the down block, they don't even see that kid. So he's now underneath the puller, okay? We've got a pretty big gap to fill. You like to fill that if you're the inside linebacker, right? But because he can come outside in on it, okay, and the backside inside linebacker, once he sees that pull, you'll see him. Okay, you can't really see the number, but the right side player now, he's number 17. Okay, when number 17 sees the pull, okay, he gets over the top right now. They can't come off the double on the nose to get to him. It gets off late. He's over the top of it. Okay, he's physical on it. It's a real good shot, that guard coming off on the double. Okay, he's over the top. So now we've got guys, we've got these gaps taken care of. Number 55 does a good job falling back inside on the quarterback here, okay? And we make a play for, I think, a 3-yard gain, all right? But it's all about when the ball's snapped, getting those reads, okay? Pre-snap, okay, you're getting that motion, all right? So we're communicating motion, motion, motion. We're moving, okay? Because if this does cross the formation now, okay, and it gets to a different formation, a different configuration of receivers out here, right? That's a different formation. Okay, they just didn't line up in it. All right, so motion, you know, you got to react to motion. Okay, early in training camp, every year, particularly you start getting the young guys out there, the offense will motion and nobody will move. Their feet stay rooted in concrete, and that is a problem, right? So that's one of the things we're always trying to. When you get motion, somebody somewhere has to be moving. Okay, whether it's somebody in the secondary, the front, the linebackers, not the front, excuse me, but the linebackers. You know, those guys have got to be moving, adjusting with motion. okay, because you're getting a different formation. All right, so he's getting the motion. Okay, now we take it ahead a little bit further. That ball snapped. Okay, the hat goes right now. Okay, the birth of skip pulls has complicated things a little bit. You used to get, right, the guard would throw his elbow and open up, okay, and pull, and it was really clearly defined, made things pretty easy. But now you're getting, this is almost like a hybrid, looks like, between the traditional pull and a skip pull. But he's getting a pull, so he should be, and I don't know if he is, but he should be screaming, pull, 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 telling the other inside linebacker, you got a puller coming your way, which would tell this kid that he should be filling up inside. Okay. But again, because of the defensive end does such a good job here, it actually kicks it out a gap for him, which is nice. But he should be thinking about fitting quick on the front side. You know, you get it down in a pull, that's gap game. All right. So he's working, 17's working over the top on the backside. 55 does a good job. He's got the motion. Now it's shelled. Okay. He should be getting back to square as soon as he can. Okay. Everything I tell these kids, everything I tell these inside linebackers is the more time you can spend, okay, squared up with your shoulders, hips, toes, square to the line of scrimmage, the better off we are. Okay. So that's not feasible, right, for something that's outside, right? We always want to shuffle and stay in square whenever possible. Now, when it's jet motion or you get tossed or you get outside zone away from you, you can't get there with a shuffle. Okay, so the technique we use is called alley run. I'm sure a lot of people out there are probably familiar with it. Okay, but that's where they're going to open up and run. Okay, but the goal is to close the distance down to get back to square as quickly as possible. Right, we want to spend as much time as we possibly can square the line of scrimmage. Okay, for multiple reasons. The most important of which being the ability to change direction. Okay, and play cutbacks and play off cuts on backs and all that stuff. All right, so as this goes outside, he gets that pull call. He sees the motion coming. All right. He's working outside. Right there, he starts to open his hips. This inside linebacker on the left side of the screen, he starts to open his hips, okay, because if it's handed off to the jet, he's not going to make a play if he's shuffling, right? He knows that, okay? So he's opening up his hips, getting ready to run, okay, with the goal of getting back to square as quickly as possible. So he's able to, right about here now, he's falling back in. Okay, he's getting back to square. I don't like his feet being this far outside of the cylinder, but is what it is. Okay, he's a pretty good athlete, so he's able to come back. Okay, and he's able to fall back in and make a play. All right. The backside inside linebacker, he's opened up, in my opinion, a little bit too much here. Okay, he could be in still more of a shuffle type position than he is here to stay flat and get over the top of stuff. Nose guard's doing a great job occupying two, buys him time. He can shuffle across. Okay, the three techniques we use, I just talked about the alley run. We use an alley run. We use a lateral shuffle. We also use what I call a downhill shuffle, where we're coming downhill on a 45. Our inside foot is up, but everything's square to the line of scrimmage. All right. And in a perfect, okay, to get up of stuff, if you're the backside inside linebacker, if I were to, draw lines, I should see a flat line into a 45 downhill as you go to get to the ball and make a tackle. So it would be a little shuffle, okay, and then a downhill shuffle at 45 to get to the ball. All right, but nothing ever works out perfectly. Okay, but I wouldn't mind seeing this backside inside linebacker from the right side of the screen. Wouldn't mind seeing him being a little bit more of a lateral shuffle before he opened up his hips. But again, he does a pretty good job getting there. Okay, and getting over the top. And again, he does a really good job of being physical, taking on that block, right? You don't catch blocks, you blow. Okay, he takes it on now. Like to see him use his hands, shoot his hands through, create separation so he can escape. Okay, but overall they did a pretty good job here. And again, this play, I know we're talking linebacker stuff. This play is made by this defensive end squeezing this dock. It keeps the tackle off of the linebackers, okay, and it takes everything down a gap, and it allows him to get underneath this puller without the puller even, okay, because he pressure outside of him, he's a shoulder rusher, so he's free to chase and tackle dive and all that stuff. So his ability to get underneath the puller, okay, is compromise the integrity of the defense. It allows us to still be sound, all right, but it just kicks things out a gap wider to this inside linebacker. Here he goes. The safety's coming downhill to fit as well, fitting off what's in front of him. Okay, good job there. Okay, that was a 2-yard gain. All right. So again, those kids reading what they get, okay, and then reacting to it. Okay, the next clip here. All right, a little bit older in this. In the previous, that's Northfield, Vermont, in September 21st, November. I think it was November 16th, but you see the little bit different climate-wise. Okay. So again, now here we got a tight end. All right. So that affects us a little bit in the sense we actually have a nub tight end. There's no receivers out here. Now you just sit up here in the front. The previous 2 clips I showed you had, displaced receivers or 2-back, so that there was no tight end in those clips. So you didn't get to see the Sam. Now the Sam is here. He's on the tight end. He's in a 9. We call it a 9. Some people call it a 7. But he's outside shade. Okay. Our corners up here in a roll alignment is what we call it, because there's no width out there. There's no receivers out there displaced. So he's almost kind of in the box. And then the inside linebacker, pretty good look at it here. This kid on the right side here, number 38, he's clearly on the inside shoulder pad of the tackle, which is good. That's where I want him. Number 10 over here. Okay, he's looks like maybe could be just a little bit wider, but again, it's tough to tell. The camera's not directly behind it. I don't love his stance. His feet are a little too wide. But in terms of actual alignment, not too bad. Okay. Again, we're in a relatively base thing here. Okay. We get some motion. All right. Number 10 here, Johnny. He's calling it out. He's going to start to shuffle just a little bit, move himself in. Okay. Now that kid gets back to square. Okay. This is important, right? When that motion guy gets back to square, okay, now that linebacker get back to square. Okay. He can settle back in. Okay. He can still kind of shuffle if he wants, but chop down those steps. They're a little bit shorter, a little bit quicker. All right. Continues to work. I don't love 38 on the right side. He hasn't reacted to motion at all. Okay. But he's a pretty smart player. So we'll see how this plays out for us. Okay. He gets a down block. Okay. From the guard on his triangle, this defensive right, the guard here is going to block down. Okay. So he sees a down block. So he should be thinking gap game right now. When you get that offset back coming to you and a down block, thinking gap game, okay, power, ISO, this is going to be power, okay. Now what I love about 38 here, okay, he gets a down block, he gets a pull call from 10, okay. Right now, he's thinking about fitting that inside gap. You can see he's getting downhill right now. Nose guard has played himself into the opposite A, okay. This defensive end actually did a pretty good job of getting off the double, splitting it. He's clearly in the B. So 38's thinking fill A right now. Okay, and 10 on the backside is thinking about getting over the top because he got pulled away. 38 redirects because the defensive end puts the offensive tackle's body into the hole. Okay, clogs things up. 38 does a good job of redirecting. So now that A gap is closed down. He's got a teammate in B. So he's thinking about scraping to C because the Sam linebacker has taken that kickout block and kind of squashed it, okay, and he's doing a good job compressing it down. All right, so now 38's thinking about fitting right in here. What I would be telling him, and we'll see what he does, but what I would be telling him is he's got the puller coming to him. I want to see him attack the inside shoulder of this puller, okay? There's different schools of thought. I get it, right? Some guys are going to say, attack the outside shoulder, force the ball back to the other inside linebacker. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, that makes sense to me. But what I'm telling our kids is fill inside first, make the ball bounce. Okay, I stole a great drill a couple of years ago from the University of Miami, just a fast fit drill. So you get that pull to you, you go right now and fill the inside pad of this guard. Okay, and this kid's getting over the top. He's thinking about fitting as tight as he can, picking the pocket of the play side inside linebacker, okay? A banana without bowing back, okay? So it's coming this way. He's trying to fit real tight off the linebacker who's attacked the inside pad on the puller, Okay, we're getting kind of a pseudo cut. The cut plays him, and I think it's kind of an unintentional cut, to be honest with you. It plays him into a different gap than he's thinking about fitting. You can see he's thinking right now, go attack the puller, inside shoulder. But as he gets this awkward cut to him, it actually ends up kicking him out a gap. Okay, number 10 coming from the backside, he should be thinking, I'm fitting off the play side inside linebacker. So I like what he's doing here is he's now throttling down. He should be fitting if it cuts back to him coming inside. Okay, do a good job. That's all gummed up. Guys have done a good job. It's all gummed up. The ball's got nowhere to go. Thank God it's got nowhere to go because that running back right there is one of the best I've seen in a long time. Great player. Fortunately, a senior for them. But he gets gummed up. Okay, the Sam linebacker does a good job of taking the kick out block and putting it in the backfield. I mean, this is supposed to be out here. This is supposed to be a kick out. Okay, the Sam linebacker splats it and compresses it, takes the lead blocker into the running back. That's awesome. Okay. And we end up getting things gummed up, guys fitting, guys can be fast. The corner gets himself involved, okay, out of his role alignment because he's got nothing out there. And we even see a strong safety coming down in the box to fill. Okay. 10, be honest with you guys, senior, great kid, love him. Super athletic, really strong, great weight room kid. Not a really physical player. So, I don't love – he doesn't really seem to want to stick his nose into this gumbo that we have going on here. But positionally, he's in a pretty good position here to play his responsibility. Okay, we take it back and look at what we get pre-snap. Again, ball snapped. You get a down block on the play side, and a pull on the backside. So right now, 38's thinking that the rules told him if I'm getting pulled to me, get ready to fill. So that's what he's doing. 10's thinking I'm getting pulled away from me. I'm thinking about scraping, which is what he's doing. Okay, so these kids do a pretty good job of that. Again, we got edge pressure coming from our left defensively. So this defensive end, is told now. It's different, right, than when you don't have pressure coming. I talked about the thug alignment, playing head up. Don't worry about a reach. It's different when you got pressure. When he's got pressure coming off outside of him, he has two things that he should be doing. The first one is you got to beat this block, get underneath it, get inside of it, get underneath because you got edge pressure coming. Okay, with the technique we use is called a short scoop. Okay, now if that doesn't happen, which it should, because you know where you're going. Okay, but if it doesn't happen, and he gets reached, he's thinking I could bend tight and chase because I have pressure coming outside of me. All right, so those are his rules there. Okay, general, you guys maybe you'll like this one. We tell defensive linemen, if they're moving, not playing base, but if they're moving and the offense, and we say you got to get under the block and they don't, we say if you can't beat one, you are one. So what that means, if you can't get across the face of the offensive lineman fast enough, well, congratulations, you're now an offensive lineman. So that's a little slogan that we use. If you can't beat one, you are one. But nonetheless, sometimes it doesn't happen that way. So this kid ends up, he's supposed to be short scooping inside, but the cut gets inside of him. He's either got to get over the top of that cut, which he does a decent job of. If he doesn't, he's got to bend flat and chase down the line of scrimmage because he's a front shoulder rusher. And again, 10 does a good job. He's got his pulls away from him. He's scraping. 38's got a pull coming to him. So he's thinking about filling right now. All right. So again, the premise of this whole thing, to take it to the beginning, guys, the premise to the whole thing is, these linebackers, their responsibility in the run game is to fit off the defensive lineman, make the defensive lineman right. We're telling these defensive linemen to be aggressive. We're not saying occupy blocks, take on double teams, let the linebackers run. We're just not telling them that. One of the great myths out there is if you're going to play a 3-4, you've got to have this monstrous nose. They can play head up on the center all day and two gap it all day long. And that's just not the case. Now, if you have that kid, that's awesome. But we do so much moving, short scooping and lining kids up in shades and stuff that you really don't need that monstrous nose. The kid that on the screen here is about 275, 280 pounds. He's probably 6'2", decently athletic. He moves pretty well. Okay, but we want these defensive linemen. The whole point of that was we want these defensive linemen to be aggressive. Okay, we're telling these kids, if you're moving, you're scooping, you've got a gap responsibility, get off the ball and make plays. We want tackles for a loss. Okay, if he goes the wrong way, the defensive end goes the wrong way, well, you inside linebacker, you make him right. Okay, if this inside linebacker fits the wrong gap now, safeties, when you come down to fit in a run game, you make the linebacker right. Okay, but we don't want kids thinking about, oh, if I got to step here and I take on this and I keep – no, we're not sucking up blocks. Be aggressive. Go make plays, okay? Tackle for a loss, okay? And then, obviously, the inside linebackers got to fit off of that, make them right, okay? But we want to be aggressive, all right? We want to be aggressive, okay? So that's the whole notion, the whole thing, and that's a couple clips that we looked at. Okay, watch this one more time through just without stopping it. Okay, these kids are getting off the ball, being aggressive, and doing a pretty good job. Okay, so go to the last slide there. I got my contact info. You can follow me and or our program on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We do have a YouTube channel that highlights some stuff from our program. We did a kind of behind-the-scenes documentary series this past year that if you guys are looking for anything more kind of behind the curtain, what it's like, our websites are down there as well. So I want to make sure I get that stuff on there. All that being said, questions. Is there anything I didn't go over enough? Anything you want to hear more about? Something that was unclear? Any terminology? I think coaching, the best thing I've learned about coaching is it's not, we're all teaching the same stuff. What I pick up a lot when I go to clinics and stuff like that is somebody will say something in a way that makes sense, and all of a sudden the light bulb goes off, and I'm like, hey, if I said it that way, that makes a little bit more sense. So, I love that. So if I said anything that needs clarification, don't hesitate to let me know.
So go ahead, Phil. Fire away with questions.
Yeah, you kind of answered a question that I was going to ask right at the end of your presentation, Coach. And that was with the bigger space eating nose tackle. Would you prefer to have that type of wide body anchoring the 3-4, or would you like maybe a little bit of a smaller, quicker guy that can read and get off blocks and make plays?
I mean, I'd prefer, right, given the choice, the bigger body does help, right? Because, at the end of the day, those I tell kids, if you want to play nose guard to 3-4, find a few like small sedans and go play in traffic, right? Like that, it's a tough. They're getting a lot of double teams and stuff like that, and they are the player probably more than anybody else that might get that just straight up drive block, from that center. So given the choice, you want that bigger kid, okay? But I'm gonna give you two examples. The best kid we've had since I've been here, I've been here 12 years. We had a kid out of Buffalo, 6'3", 295 pounds, very athletic. Probably not a Division III player at the end of the day, but he kind of developed into that, coming through the door. He was definitely a D3 kid, and then by the time he graduated, he wouldn't have been out of place in the CAA. He was a stud. You don't get those very often, right? That was 9 years ago. So shortly after him, the kid who kind of took over for him was he was probably 6'2", maybe 6'1". He was maybe 260 pounds, but he was a high school wrestler, very strong, understood leverage, and was kind of equally as productive. We did kind of move him a little bit more. Again, I think when you're a 3-4 like we are, those kids are scooping and slanting and angling so much that they're ending up playing, half man on a guard and or a center more often than not. They're very rarely, taking on that just straight up drive block from a big 300-pound center. So the preference would be, to have a big, heavy kid, but you gotta play with what you got, and I think, a lot of high schools would be served well with this defense because of the reasons I touched on in the beginning of, even at the high school level, there's a lot of linebacker type bodies out there. Right. And, I understand, and I think back to when I was in high school, we played a lot of like 5-man front stuff because you weren't getting a lot of throwing, you just weren't back, in the late 90s in Maine. There just wasn't a ton of passing. But as offenses have evolved and the spread type stuff has become more prevalent, I think there's some benefit to it. And I think guys are scared off by saying like, well, we don't want to just have 3 down, but again, you're able to get to 4 and or 5 really, really easily, just by what you call, and allows you to move those kids and let them be athletic and make plays and be quick. So to circle back to your initial question, yeah, the big kids are better, but I think that even more important than the size and the density is, how quick is that step? If you can get a good quick first step in the ground and get your cleats in the ground now and get yourself moving whichever way you're going quickly, you're in business. So
now
it's kind of
I'll always take the 2-gap guy, coach. Let me take that back. I always take a guy they got a double team, whether he's quick, big, or whatever. If they got a double team him, the 2 guys behind him are instantly 8,000 times better. So if it's a big kid that they can't handle, or if it's a quicker kid they can't handle, I'm good either way. But it's got to be a guy that they can't block one-on-one.
Right.
We got a lot of successful wing T guys strictly because when they pull their guards and leave that center one-on-one with our nose tackle, it's usually a guy for us that can beat those. And really same thing with zone schemes. You don't want to let guys get off at that second level. So we've had success with both.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's about skill sets and knowing what you got and what they do well, right? Like putting kids in positions to succeed and all that stuff. Yeah. If we always say, right, like if they're going to single block you, make them it better be a mistake. If they're going to try to single block you, or at least not leave a hand and help before they go, we tell our kids this, our nose guards this. If they're blocking our inside linebacker, you better make a tackle for a loss.
Right. We had in 2009, we had Jake Willett, who played for coach at Norwich, but he was only a sophomore back then, playing linebacker, and he was 5'10", like 150 pounds. And then we had another kid who went to Maine Maritime, who was also he's probably a mediocre Division III football player, but he wasn't, he was like 5'9", like maybe 175, 180. He was a pulling guard type. But the kid in front of him was Matt Pellerin, who played at Maine and at Husson after that. And Pell was, he was just stupid good. And Jake Willett led our team in tackles that year as a 150-pound inside linebacker sophomore because everybody had to triple team Pellerin almost all the time. And Willett just ran around and made play after play after play. So we always try to take our best, most athletic defensive linemen and put them there, or a kid. If you get a 2-gap kid that can really read guards, we spend a lot of time on that. The kid we have now is phenomenal. Like in practice, it's stupid. We can't block him. His guard reads are so good. Like if a guard gets up and goes, he's beat the center to the play side A-gap so quickly that it's over. You have to double.
Yeah, no doubt.
Are you 3-4 as well, Coach Heff?
Yeah, we are. We have been for quite a while. We went to it in I think we went to it in 2005.
And are both you coaches running a 3-4? Are you always lining your nose tackle head up on the center, or are you messing around in the A-gaps a little bit as well?
We mess around. The stuff that I showed you guys today was like the base stuff. And our base is 0-4-4, head up on the tackles, head up on the center. But we tag oftentimes in the defensive call. We can shade the nose one way or the other, pre-snap, just from alignment, independent of moving him. Sometimes what's fun too is shade him one way and then move him back the other way. That messes with things. But, we have some situations where he's shaded on the center. We have some calls where he'll be in a 2-eye, so he's really owning that A-gap inside shade of the guards. So we'll move him around. I don't know what Coach is doing. But.
We typically don't. I'll say that when we do play some shade, sometimes we'll shade the front if the team runs a lot of tight end wing. Like we play the wing T teams that use the Delaware set or even just the standard one. We might do it, but we're more often we play some games with the tackles and leave the nose head up. And the one thing that we've had a lot of success with some smaller guys is we back them up off the ball and let them play out of a 2-point stance. It's not great if you're playing like an I team who's going to, like a Winslow, who's going to run it right downhill at you. I wouldn't recommend it against that. But the wing T teams, like when we played Brunswick when we were in D, when we played Wells last year, we rotated the bigger kid and the smaller kid, and we had the smaller kid stand up. We call it a bubble technique. And it gives teams a wicked hard time because that guy can be gone, even if you take like your third linebacker and teach him how to do it, that guy can be gone before the center can even get his hands on him. And it's almost, I don't know, it's just a tough look. It's been really, really good to us with the smaller type nose tackles.
Nice. I like how you said you rotated a couple of different style players in there to kind of get that center thinking, and then you can bring a smaller guy that can do what you just talked about, or you can bring that bigger guy in and take up two blockers. I got a couple of big boys that can't really move. That's kind of where my questions are going to, trying to figure out where the best place to line them up. And
offense. The best place to line them up is on offense. We have a hard time with guys that can't move on defense because, now because teams have gone to so much spread stuff, to be in a 3-4 and have tackles that can't contain rush is a problem. Those guys aren't every down players for us for sure. They're definitely off the field against a spread team or on a third down. We might use them against an I team or something like that. If we played Winslow or somebody, we might be more inclined to use a couple heavy guys. But if you can't move, we really don't put guys out there on defense if they can, unless it's just a situational type of deal. Occasionally you can get away with a big 2-gap nose. That's probably where I'd put him if I had a kid like that. But now, with all the teams that are in so much shotgun, you can't get away with those guys, playing that 4 over the tackle or that 5 shade. I don't think.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And the emphasis for us on defense is before anything else is can you run? That's number one. And I can't tell you how many D linemen. August 11th they're defensive linemen, and by August 20th they're offensive tackles because they can't run.
Right.
But we also have we're in a different situation where we got 125 bodies out there. So
right.
At the high school level, it's a little different with what you got.
Right.
Coach Morris, you got anything you want to ask?
No, I'm all set. Just appreciate it. Thanks a lot. It's a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, the biggest thing I picked up was your reads on the guards. Last year we had a little problem with our with guards getting up on our backers, and the read technique that you just talked about made a lot of sense. So that's definitely something I'm going to be talking to our linebackers about for sure.
Right. And again, I can't emphasize. I think I emphasized it, but I still can't emphasize enough how much time I spend with those kids on recognizing the blocks, so that when they get that guard coming up to them right now, get downhill now. You know what I mean? So you're not, because there's a lot of times they're standing there, reading, and then like you say, and then now I'm getting blocked.
Right.
And it's over. So, I spend more time on that than probably anything else. And it's something I didn't say verbally during, the slideshow. But no matter what we do, right, when you're doing that drill or any other drill, you're getting reps at other stuff too, right? So they're always, everything we do, right, they're taking, I don't use the term read steps. I don't like it, because so many kids, for me, when you say read steps, they take 2 steps forward and now they're, caught up in the wash. And so the term I use is buzz. All I tell my kids is, when the ball snapped, your feet are in motion and you're not going anywhere. So they just buzz their feet or even just bounce real quick. I tell them buzz, buzz, buzz. 1, 2, 3. By the time your third step hits the ground, you've got your read. You know whether it's scrape, fill, pass, whatever. But so we drill that, and then the next drill we do is the block recognition drill. But they're taking their buzz steps every rep there too. So you're just constantly, all these different drills. They're getting rep after rep after rep after rep, and we're able to get a ton of reps at that stuff. So. Again, like every chance I get, and unfortunately we get into the season and we don't get as much time, on the individual drill period. I'm sure everybody's in the same boat, right? I don't get as much time just with the linebackers during the season as I normally would. But if I get 5 minutes, we're doing our stance start, our movements. So we're shuffling, alley run, downhill shuffle, and then we're doing our block recognition until the next period. If it's only 5 minutes, it's only 5 minutes. But we're going to do that every chance we get. Just I think it's invaluable because if you don't know what kind of block you're getting, it helps them diagnose plays. It helps them diagnose everything. So we spend as much time as possible on it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say ditto for us. The same drills coach is talking. The footwork drills is what our linebackers start with in Indy every day. Then they go to their guard reads and work that. And when we have our inside run period, it's all focused on that. I've also gone to my middle school coaches and said, don't blitz. Just don't, on third down, inside the 10, 4th and 1, whatever, go ahead. But teaching those guys to be blitzers is not helping us. Like we can teach them how to blitz, but for us to teach them how to read is a way longer process. So, we spent a lot of time trying to coach the middle school coaches up on how to teach the basic, like 3 basic reads for linebackers. And it's made a difference. I would say defensively, inside backer is the hardest position to find a guy. Like I always feel like we can find an outside guy. We can take the third strong safety or the most athletic tackle or, whatever. And you can kind of piece some guys in there, but finding an inside backer is tough. Those guys the good ones don't come along very often. It's hard to make a guy one. We can make some of our linebackers nose tackles because if they can read well, but and even the other way around, we've taken some nose tackles who have been slighter and made them backers, but it definitely is a hard. We got to spend a lot of time on it for sure.
Right.
Sweet. Anybody else got any questions out there before we close this thing down? Everybody's good? All right, thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time, man. That was awesome. Great stuff, as usual.
Thank you for having me back on. Appreciate you guys watching.
You got it, man. I'll be in touch. You guys take care.
Thanks, guys.